any questions they have for the products.
All right, Jefferson, thanks so much. Well, 3 out of 10 Canadians work shift work. If you're one of them, you know how hard it is to eat healthy. So registered dietitian Andrea Holwegner is in with us this morning to talk a little bit more about the nutrition. And I think I'm a shift worker.
I would put you in that camp.
Oh, you would?
Getting up at an unthinkable hour to get here and ready to go for.
And the thing is about shift workers, it's very easy to get thrown off balance, because I feel like when you're when you're on shift work and you're tired, you often look for things like sugars and carbs to just kind of keep you going throughout the day, and then it all starts to fall apart, doesn't it?
You bet. So
yeah.
It's all about balance and timing and and just being a little more mindful.
And what are some of the health concerns for shift workers, Andrea?
So shift work disrupts your circadian rhythm, and that can affect just your overall biology and lead to just issues in terms of risk for diabetes, heart disease, gaining weight over time. And so it doesn't mean it's going to happen. You're just at higher risk. And so we can certainly manage that through just healthier lifestyle.
Absolutely.
We also know shift workers, it just disrupts your ability to get going on regular patterns, especially if your shift changes week to week.
Totally.
And it's hard to get in a groove of packing lunch or cooking meals. If it's always changing, we know that affects things for people.
That's very tough. So you've got some great tips to help us navigate. Why don't we start with your first tip?
You bet. So timing is really key here. Often people think, especially if you're working in the middle of the night, it's just, I shouldn't be eating. But realistically, yes, you should.
Okay.
So my suggestion for any shift work, it doesn't matter what time your shift starts, is whenever you wake up, call that meal number 1.
Okay.
Have it within about an hour of waking. That's ideal to kickstart that metabolism, get you going again, boost energy. And then count out 3 to 5 hours later.
Okay.
And keep doing that throughout the rest of your day and throughout your shift.
Okay.
And that'll probably mean you're going to be eating anywhere between 3 to 6 times throughout your afternoon or evening if you're working throughout the evening shift.
So if you're up at 1, you should be eating at least before 2 a.m. and then now you can move in within that whole time, that time schedule for you. So you're on your own little time zone.
And you might not be hungry. Your digestive system gets a little bit more out of whack. And so sometimes it's more smaller meals and eating a little bit more regularly than big meals that just kind of give you that feast or famine kind of feeling throughout your evening shift.
I get that. You have some great examples of what people should be eating, and just why don't you take us through and tell us why they are so important, because there's a very, very specific combination happening here.
You bet. I always teach people, you got to marry carbohydrate with protein. They have to be married together. And that's because carbohydrate we need for your brain. It's the only thing that your brain runs on for energy. And so you could eat all the protein in the world all night. If you just eat nuts or meats or those types of things, you're just not going to be fueled for your brain. On the other hand, if you just ate carbs, you're going to be on this roller coaster ride with your blood sugars, because protein you need for stomach satiety and fullness and stabilizing out those blood sugars.
Right. These are also great tips for kids.
Yes.
This prevents kids from going into temper tantrums and things like that. Yeah. So banana and peanut butter in a wrap. That's easy.
You bet. So some people might just leave the jar of peanut butter at work, or almond butter, whatever your choice is. Maybe a box of crackers could do the job. Or in this case, my suggestion is bring the wrap rolled up, spread some peanut butter on it, put the banana, roll it, and it's just an excellent thing. Even if you're not a morning breakfast person, this is a good one in the car.
Okay. Don't forget your veggies and your fruit.
You bet. So we've got an edamame salad here. I just brought some leftovers. You could consider that as a snack. I've got a bocconcini cheese here with tomato and basil. Some people might say that's an appetizer or salad. It's a great snack.
Right. And very convenient, I have to say. All of these foods are very convenient. Yes,
some fruit. And what I did here is, because nut butters don't really stick to fruit. And again, we want to put some protein there. And so what you could do is dip it in a Greek yogurt, or in this case, I call this a yo-nut dip. Mix nut butter with a bit of yogurt, and it makes the fruit a little easier to stick to that substance.
And you got little mini pitas here?
You bet. I was packing my kids' lunch, so I just kind of shopped in my house. I thought, what would be some great snacks for people on shift? And so I've got some hummus and some cheese, pepper, little mini pita breads here. So.
And the best tip you have for those shift workers is stay away from this stuff. I think I'm losing this battle then.
I'm married to a wine importer. I get it.
Are you? Oh, God.
So, the key with alcohol, though, is if you come home after shift and you have a beverage that contains alcohol, it doesn't allow your body to go into that deep restorative sleep.
Right. And then, of course, the coffee is going to really kind of play some games with you when it comes to the sleeping, right?
You bet. And caffeine, we know, can stay in your system for about 6 hours. So just be mindful mid-afternoon if you're going to be coming home to curb that caffeine a little earlier in the day.
It's so hard, though, not to go on the same timeline as your family members or your friends, and then all of a sudden it throws it all out of whack. So you have to be a little more selfish and be on your own timeline. Andrea, thanks so much for that. If you want to find out more about Andrea, you can head to her website. It is healthstandnutrition.com. Let's head over to Helena.
Well, a good